Good morning. Good morning. Thank you all for coming. Welcome to the Pioneer Bookshop. We're excited to see everyone here. I don't know how many of you go to poetry readings, but this is like a rock star turnout. Seating is a little tight. I'll try to get more chairs out as we go along. We would like to welcome David DeYoung this morning. He is a native of Illinois before coming to Grinnell and majoring in English, where he graduated. He received his MFA at New York University and is the recipient of the Selden Whitcomb Prize in Poetry. David lived in Wisconsin and Minnesota before moving to Finland in 2012. In Minnesota, he was the founder and editor of the music and art web magazine HowWasTheShow.com, where he also wrote reviews and music and theater performances over 10 years. He founded Nordic Moon Press in 2017 and is the author of 2 books of poetry, A Flash of Insight and Other Poems, and The Unbeatable Slow Machine. Please help me welcome David DeYoung.
Thanks, guys. I might cry. So I'm sure I will at some point, but I almost feel like crying already seeing how many of you turned out, and it really means a lot to me. It does, and I'll just keep it short at that. But as I think Brian said, not all of you probably go to poetry readings regularly. I'm going to give one tip. A lot of my poems are up short, so try not to clap after every one. If you really like something, maybe snap your fingers a little less. I've seen that done, and then save the applause for the young, because some of them are going to go by in 15 seconds, and you'll see. It's better to save the applause for the young. I'm going to read from my new book, The Unbeatable Slow Machine, and I'm kind of going to step through it chronologically in order. It's easier for me. I'll just page by, and I know some of the ones I want to hit on that talk about my time at Grinnell. Some of them are, I think some of you are from Minneapolis. There's some, at least Joanne is, and I'm going to probably read one. I hadn't thought of reading it here, but I think you'll relate to it. I think I just recently saw a t-shirt that I bought that said "Make America Minneapolis."
Yeah.
If America was Minneapolis, I think we'd all probably be better off in a lot of ways after the resistance that we saw there recently. So I'm going to start kind of with the encore by reading the title poem of the book, The Unbeatable Slow Machine. And it starts with an epigraph from Phil Larkin, from his poem, The Life with a Hole in It. And the epigraph is, the unbeatable slow machine that brings what you'll get. The unbeatable slow machine. My 50s sailed by, my once acerbic wit replaced by a slow eroding. The machine takes me where old classmates went, the place everyone is going. Which brings me to the prospect of my 40th college reunion. What pleasure might it bring to show up with my wiry hair and half-finished poems? We last so long against this tide, then we submit, like peonies in the garden, bent from our own blooming, entropy rallying around us. The world, it turns out, is made up of kisses, not stones, or at least that's how I tell myself this story. A lot of these poems are a little bit of a downer, but hopefully we'll be able to. They are poems of entropy, so they are about the ends of things. This is a poem called Cold, Dark, Deep, and Absolutely Clear. It's what's called a golden shovel, which is a form where I took the title of the Elizabeth Bishop, took the title from a line from Elizabeth Bishop's At the Fish Houses, and each line of my poem ends with one of those words. Cold, dark, deep, and absolutely clear. There's been so much death, even the noonday sun shines cold. At bedtime, my daughter whispers in the dark, "Where do dead people go? And can they come back?" Deep space is full of nearly nothing, like our bodies. And for the most part, we're already not here. I don't know where they go, I say, but they don't come back. She just needs it to be clear. This next poem is called Looking at Stars with George, and it wasn't meant as an elegy because I wrote it for a dear friend of mine from high school who had a chance to read it before he passed away a couple years ago. And it comes with a epigraph from John Keats. The epigraph is, "Bright star, would I were steadfast as thou art." This poem was published in Narrative Magazine a few years ago, which was really exciting. It's a pretty well-known online publication. You can find it there, and it's in the book. Looking at Stars with George. We crunch through the snow in the pre-dawn blue-black cold, and he tells me about the stars. Vega, Betelgeuse, Arcturus, Rigel, and the bright one, Venus, not even a star. I'm 16, he's 17. I'm glad to have an older person to talk to, someone to listen. Grasping neither time nor space, we set a date to meet again, 40 years in the future, when in our 50s, we seldom speak. The stars, still burning, still dying, moving farther and farther apart. At breakfast this morning, somebody asked me, was it maybe Todd, if I had a foreword to the book, and I didn't. And I wrote one for my previous book, but I thought you'd kind of get the idea of the book. You read the poems, it's like the theme kind of emerges. But I'm going to try reading this poem called How to Defeat Entropy, which has some insight into what I was thinking about when I wrote the other poems. It actually has an epigraph from a Merriam-Webster dictionary, kind of defining with what entropy is, with a Greek prefix "en" meaning within, and trope root "here" meaning change. Entropy basically means change within a closed system. Any physicists here want to confirm that? The closed system we usually think of when speaking of entropy, especially if we're not physicists, is the entire universe. But entropy applies to closed systems of any size. And then there's a quote from William Carlos Williams: "The source of poetry that, seeing the clock has stopped, says, the clock has stopped, that ticked well yesterday." So how to defeat entropy. Start by giving up. Then soldier on through cold greater than can be thought and dull pain towards the unavoidable end. Clean as you go, and teach your children to make their beds. Let entropy envelop the city, your friends, everything. Take heart, the mountains will crumble to the sea, planets plunge into stars, and still dark fire awaits. You are so small as not to matter yet. In this moment, this now that moves, greater than the cosmos. Learn to dance where the rules do not apply. Thank you. I'll lighten it up before I move on in here. Girl with a pearl earring. This is kind of a true story. Something I saw on the side of a garbage truck. Inspired this poem. Girl with a pearl earring looms 5 times actual size on the side of a garbage truck in the grocery store parking lot. I remember Vermeer intended the painting as a trolley, a study in expression, not a portrait, just a head. A head bought for 24 euros in 1881, now one of the world's most recognizable paintings. When he died, he left his family in debt. What small means he'd secured dwindled to nearly nothing. It's centuries later. I'm at the store for Cheerios, bananas, milk. My daughter made the list. And this head of Vermeer's, 2 meters high, on the side of a truck, looks my way with curious, sympathetic eyes as I, recognized by no one, still actual size, walk into the store. I want to try this. Tell me if I get too long, Brian. I think I can do this in under 15 minutes. That's what we're scheduled for. As I said, these go by quickly. Maybe I'll just stop after 15 wherever we are. This is called in Tule, Helsinki. Tule is the neighborhood I lived in when I first moved to Finland. It's got two, not just one O with dots over it, two in a row. I can't still say it properly. So imagine trying to get home in a taxi. It's like, where are you going? What's wrong? I said, let's get married. And you said, yes, we could live in Helsinki. And I could get a job in IT, and you could be a therapist, and I could bring my guitar, and you could organize our books by color, and we could have children, and move to the suburbs, and I could go on business trips, and you could take our daughters to the farm, and a drug-addled woman could break into our home through a kitchen window left open by mistake and ransack our house for days on end because there was no one there. And the snow would fall in winter, and the rains would come in spring. And when it seemed there were no words left, we would look at each other, our daughters long since moved away, and you would say, remember when the earth surged up and water spilled into the deep trenches of the sea and made the continents and broke them apart? This is called If You Came This Way, epigraph from T.S. Eliot's The Four Quartets. And what you thought you came for is only a shell, a husk of meaning from which the purpose breaks only when it is fulfilled, if at all. If you came this way. The car stereo plays Jeremy Irons reading Eliot's Little Gidding, and I'm moved to tears in summer morning traffic. And that is what poetry is for. Driving past malls and office parks on Ring 1, Monday after a 2-week holiday, death is with me in the sunlight, shining down through hours and eons on forests, highways, the hoods of cars, and my forearm. There will be time for work, time for the shopping, but what of the evening with the photograph album? A candle burns on a table on a winter morning before dawn. Your dead friend waits by the river where past and future meet, and snowdrops and hellebores plot their slow way back from oblivion. If we cannot move like this in time, all is lost. Another kind of upbeat one, and then I'll probably close with the one about Minneapolis. This is called Personal Growth Abecedarian. When you go and get your MFA, you do a lot of exercises. This is one of those poems, like every line starts with a letter of the alphabet. It's like A through Z. And it gets real tricky when you get X, Y, Z. Those are tricky ones. But it's fun, and this one kind of works, so I decided I'd include it in the book. Personal Growth Abecedarian. As it turned out, and I'll kind of try to mark the letters. As it turned out, nothing was easy. But back in the day, I thought I could just live and let live as if in some kind of dream. Experience growth on a fast-forward, one-way path towards genuine insight. Ha! Like that could ever happen. I had my ups and downs, of course, but mostly I faltered, acted just like my father when he was a kid. I found myself becoming him in lieu of loving him. Same thing with my mom. Even if that side of my character was nearly hidden and way more snarled up. Over time, I realized all this could have been predicted, that my trajectory was in most ways quotidian. I had become my parents and was ready, just like my siblings, to pass my problems on to a new generation. Ultimately, thank God, I came to my senses. Virtually all the feedback my wife had given me was spot on. And so, boldly embracing my xenophilia, I moved to Finland. And you can see how I turned out. Zealous, but not without some self-restraint. Oh, and now I'll say this, because this is a poetry joke too. The best part and everybody's favorite part of a poetry reading is when the poet says, I'll read 2 more poems. I gotta read the 2. I'm gonna end with 2 poems about now, and then we'll call it quits because it's going to be about time. This first one is called Darby Jim is Gone. Darby Jim is gone. We're down the stairs across from the wood shop in the dank men's room. Decades-old graffiti whispered humorous pith above cracked porcelain stalls. Cigarette smoke fills the void left by reality. And question, why do I exist? Answer, to receive mail. Where Bruce Springsteen and Jefferson Airplane played, and Bob Stinson smashed his guitar and the monitors from River City Sound, and the police came. Darby Jim is gone. Where the radio station broadcast at 10 watts over the cornfields, where the VAX 11780 hummed in the computer center, with its creaking bleachers, faded banners, and dusty trophy cases, Darby Jim is gone. Don't you see it? It's gone. And this one, last poem, is called The Minor Keys, another Grinnell reference that you'll probably get, everybody, because this building that's referenced here is still there. The Minor Keys. I got wine drunk in the Holiday Inn Notre Dame with a view of the Eiffel Tower, put on Brahms Symphony No. 1 in C minor, and was back in my British history classroom on an August night in 1982 on the second floor of Alumni Recitation Hall, working out ways to include English beat and Gang of Four lyrics in my poli-sci and econ finals. I actually managed to do it. Blasting the Sir George Solti 1979 recordings with the Chicago Symphony Orchestra on my Sony Walkman and portable speakers, bought for me by a girl who'd sympathized I'd fallen in love with her. Oh, the power of the minor keys, reaching across the years. There were times I would have traded Brahms' 4 symphonies for Beethoven's 9 and skipped away happy, and that was one of them. So many things were clear to me then, before the wine and Paris and the years. And I have to promote them because I can't carry them back to Finland. They're very heavy. You can come see me if you want to buy one. I'll be around. I can sign or whatever. I don't have any hurry to go anywhere. But I want to promote 2 events coming up after me. Billy Stream, 10:30 in Main Lounge now.
That's right.
Danny?
That's
it's
right.
going to be in Main Lounge inside because of the rain. Laughter Yoga. 10:30 Main Lounge, Billy Stream. 1 p.m. Harris Cinema. Where's JD? Right place? 1 p.m. Harris Cinema, biopic on John Jensen. I'll be there. Hope you all join me for those events as well.
And for those who don't know, laughter yoga is not like a yoga. It's not yoga. Like you don't have to wear a mat. You don't have to wear flowing robes. You don't have to It's more about laughter than it is about yoga. Just so everybody knows, because the planning committee was figuring out how many yoga mats to bring. So we want
Okay. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Oh, you're getting up for some.
Good turnout.
Surprising.